Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today we're going to long-running special series, the Unported Playlist Hall of Fame, where I look at some of the best arcade games ever made. I revisit videos I did in the past, update them with new information, and kind of take a look at what I would consider some of the best games ever made that were in arcades. And if you can't tell already, we're playing OutRun 2 SP SDX, which is a special re-release of the game on Sega Lindbergh hardware. And today we're going to talk about the concept of perfection. Can a video game be perfect? Can it be perfect to you and me at the same time? Is there such a thing as perfection in video game development? Because if there is one candidate I would hold up among all others and say it is a perfect game, it would have to be OutRun 2. And I understand I'm cheating a little bit on this release. Obviously this did get ported to the PlayStation 2, the PSP, the Xbox, as well as the PC, but the Lindbergh version stands head and shoulders above all of them, just being the most impressive version of the game. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I absolutely love the arcade racing genre. It is second to me only behind light gun games as far as what I love to play in arcades. And I've long said that Sega is the absolute king of the genre in and of itself. Yes, Namco made some incredible racing games, as did Konami, but honestly, Sega has no rival when it comes to the sheer output of perfection when it comes to the arcade racing genre. And OutRun 2 is at the top of that list as far as their games are concerned. I cannot think of a single thing about this game that I would say is to its detriment. The only problem the game has, inevitably it does end one time, and you have seen every single thing that the game has to offer. But the best part about OutRun 2 SP SDX, which I'm just going to refer to as OutRun from now on, is that it has the entirety of the original OutRun as well as all the expanded tracks, except it's been pivoted over to the Sega Lindbergh hardware, which was a Pentium 4 with an NVIDIA GPU. It was the most powerful thing you'd basically see in arcades back in this period of time, and it absolutely shows here. Every single square inch of this screen is filled with something to look at. This game runs at a blistering frame rate, never slows down, never has any frame drops as far as I can tell. It just 100% works as far as the technology underneath it presenting the visuals. And what I will say about the overall gameplay, OutRun 2 has the best physics and handling and drifting engine of any arcade game ever made. And obviously I am in the process of doing a Ridge Racer retrospective where I talk about the drifting mechanics there, but they cannot hold a candle in my opinion to what OutRun 2 does. This is the epitome of how to make an arcade racing game, because of course you're never going to drive like this in real life. It would be impossible. Sure, you can buy a Ferrari, sure you can drift it, but you're not going to drive it in the manner in which you see in OutRun 2. Physics basically dictate that that would not work whatsoever. But that is why the arcade racer is one of my favorite genres of all time. You can do things in these games you could only dream about doing behind the wheel of a very good vehicle, and that is always why these games just make you feel invincible. When you're drifting well, when you're maneuvering the corners, when you're just slightly kissing the bumper of a car as you drift by it, the game just works. It doesn't do anything whatsoever other than make you feel like a literal racing god, and that is what we want out of games like this. Sega was the master of this genre, and their masterpiece, that one work that hangs in the Louvre, has got to be OutRun 2. The only thing about this game that makes me sad is the fact that we haven't seen an OutRun 3 from Sega. I know people out there desperately want it, myself very much included, and I hope one day that we actually get to play a third entry in this franchise, because it is one of these games. I've been playing it my entire life since it came out, and I play this at least once, maybe twice a year. I get my wheel out, I set it up on my PC, and I just absolutely start tearing through the tracks, drifting with wild abandon, and it is some of the most fun you can have in like 5 to 6 minutes, because that is the reality of OutRun 2. From the starting line to the goal, you're talking about 5 minutes, but that 5 minutes is pure, concise arcade racing action put to one of the best soundtracks that I think has ever been married to a video game. And you know I like to get my segues into my sound sample, so 45 seconds, and I'll be right back with a lot more OutRun 2. 4 minutes and 52 seconds, not a bad result there, and we will go back into the menu here and we'll hold down the view button so we can switch from OutRun 2 SP to the original OutRun 2, but now on the Sega Lindbergh with better graphics than we had in the arcade original release. So it is fun just how much this release actually has as far as content is concerned. And again, I understand it's ported, but it's Hall of Fame, and we get to have a little fun around the holiday season. But if you think about it this way, think about 5 minutes of your time. What could you possibly do that would be more fun than playing OutRun 2? And before you make the joke down below, I know it only takes you 2 minutes to do that other thing. But all jokes aside, the 5 minutes that you're spending playing OutRun 2, the entire world melts away. Whether you're in a busy arcade with a bunch of sounds around you, if you're just in your studio like I am with a wheel and pedal set, those 5 minutes absolutely destroy any other video game I can possibly think of. Maybe outside of Crazy Taxi also giving you that intensity, even if it isn't as much of a racing game. And that is why OutRun 2 is just so incredible. But the fun thing is, it's not just that you play 5 minutes or even see every single course in the game in like 45 minutes, then never come back to it again, because you can dial the difficulty up in this game to some obscene levels in the arcade test menu. You can run this course time and time again, basically trying to improve your times and seeing the actual ending of that goal if you actually dial it up to very hard. Because once you get into the harder difficulties, if you do not race a perfect line, if you do not miss every single bit of traffic, you are never going to see the end. And I've definitely played this game enough. I will say the traffic is a relative variable, so you're going to even have 2 different runs, even if you have it on the same difficulty on the same course. And that is the fun, reading the screen, knowing when you want to hit that drift, knowing when you want to come out of the apex of the turn so that you can maintain as much speed as possible, because if you drift a little bit too long, you're going to lose speed. You want to get out of the drift basically as soon as possible so you can start driving forward again. And that is always the fun part about an arcade racing game. They are incredibly easy to pick up and play. If you've never played OutRun 2 before, if I handed you a controller and said, use a little tap of the brake to drift, and then go ahead and release the gas and hit it again to straighten out, you would understand how to do it in like 30 seconds to a minute. But it might take you months upon months of practice to become extremely proficient at a game like this. And that is why OutRun 2 is again so spectacular. It hooks you in and it makes you want to come back for more. It makes you want to race time and time again, because for the 10 minutes that this video is, I ended up capturing over 3 hours of OutRun footage, and I threw away like 95% of my actual work product. I just didn't need it. I just kept playing the game because I was having that much fun. And you will see in the video, I'm really not even cutting away from the footage. I don't have any cuts here. I'm just letting it run because the game is so impactful. It's so fluid and so visually dynamic. I don't need to do anything in the editing process to make this more presentable to you. I just need to tell you it is a 10 out of 10 game with an absolute 10 out of 10 soundtrack. And you know what that means? It's soundtrack sample number 2. Listen for 30 seconds and I'll be right back with a bit more OutRun.
Checkpoint!
Just absolute perfection. So let's go down the checklist and talk about what OutRun 2 really is. As far as the actual arcade gameplay, the physics, the handling, the drifting, everything that makes an arcade racer, this game does everything correct. It is a 10 out of 10. On the visual front, it's that classic Sega colorful nature, those bright blue skies, even if they're a little bit teal here. It has everything going for it visually and still looks great for a game that came out almost 20 years ago. It's wild to think that's how old this game is in arcades. So for its time and place, the visuals are a 10 out of 10 as well. And the soundtrack, you don't really have to ask me twice, it is also perfection. So when it comes to talking about can there be such a thing as a perfect video game, I present OutRun 2 as the example of a game that does absolutely everything right and nothing wrong. It might not be your perfect arcade game, it might not be your perfect video game, but for me it is both. And that is the reality about video games. They can be perfect. And if you don't like this game, that's totally fair, but if you leave a comment down below and say it's not a good game, I know you're just trolling me at this point in time, time, because pretty much universally this game is praised as one of the best things Sega has ever done, and even if it is almost 20 years old, I would still say it is Sega's best arcade game ever made, not just in the racing genre, the best thing they've ever done. But if the Unported Playlist Hall of Fame had a special room in the back for the one game that does it better than anything else, OutRun 2 would be the game in that room. Bye bye.